Hello everyone. Today we are talking about the 6 pillars of self-esteem by Nathaniel Brandon. We will unpack what each one is all about in this video. These practices of living consciously, self-acceptance, self-responsibility, personal integrity, self-assertiveness, and living purposefully should be practiced daily. Let's get started. First off, we've got the practice of living consciously. Have you ever met anyone who's kind of on that autopilot cycle? It's where they just wake up, go to school, play video games, go to bed, repeat. Wake up, go to school, play video games, go to bed, repeat. Wake up, you get the picture. It's even the same if you play something fun like Fortnite or PUBG or something. I mean, they have new updates, but is it really ever changing that autopilot cycle? Not really. And if you're like me and ran into that whole autopilot thing, you may notice that you want to do something different, and that's totally okay. Something that I notice is this living consciously piece from the 6 pillars tells you to ask yourself a few questions. What's my environment? What am I feeling? And what can I control? It's a great way to get out of the autopilot cycle and begin to take control over your day and get the most out of it. Next up, it's the practice of self-acceptance. Don't compare yourself to others. That's the main point. I mean, if we don't have the same resources as someone else, or we think we don't look as good as everyone else, we may think less of ourselves. And honestly, it's just time to change our mindset. Yeah, we might notice that we all have differences, but you know what? It's time to celebrate those, because that's what makes us all unique. Imagine trying to put together this puzzle, but you have the same piece over and over and over. That's just not going to work. It takes many different ones that are different colors and shapes and sizes and some more than others, and that's so we can create an awesome picture like this. Here's the thing. You complete the picture. Believing that you are important enough to complete the picture, you can accept yourself the way that you are. So let's say you're driving a car. Some of us may not be driving yet, but as you go on the road, you notice the scenery and the signs like the speed limit and all those things. Well, let's say you come up on a billboard that says, the practice of self-responsibility. Key word here is self, because it's all about you. Here's the thing. When we are living with the practice of self-responsibility, we need a hands-on approach. If you're driving a car and you take your hands off the wheel, something crazy absolutely would probably happen. Okay, so we have to make sure we keep our hands on and stay in our lane by keeping our hands on the wheel. That means taking ownership of the mistakes or decisions that we make. It means not blaming other people for what we did. And it also means learning from our mistakes. If you practice self-responsibility, you will recognize your mistakes, you will apply what you have learned, and you'll reap the benefit of making healthier decisions in the future. Next up, the practice of personal integrity. When I was younger, I would sometimes go along with my friends and bully or exclude others because of their differences. However, it definitely wasn't because they made me, it was because I made the decision to go along with them. But those decisions did not line up with my values at all and resulted in terrible feelings of how I treated those peers. I knew that I valued friendship, acceptance, and people, but I didn't know that my decisions could go against those values. The practice of personal integrity is aligning your values with your decisions and how you live your life. Self-esteem increases dramatically when your values and behaviors work together. When I personally began avoiding the decisions that were against my values, I felt higher self-esteem, made better decisions, and found that integrity strengthened my purpose. They're your decisions, so make sure they line up with your values. On to the practice of self-assertiveness. This foundational practice gives way to confidence, strength, courage, and self-respect. The way we do this is that we define what is really important to us. Once we have a good understanding of what we value and what we believe, we need to have the courage to stand on what makes us, us. It can be tough to be yourself, especially in an environment where everyone is so concerned about everyone else's opinion. But having the courage to stand by your beliefs will dramatically increase your self-esteem. Take a look at the aggressive side and the passive side. Self-assertiveness is not intentionally seeking to fight others or forcing the position over them. It's also not hiding what we really think in order to please others either. It is believing your value, opinion, and position are important. The practice of self-assertiveness will remind you daily of the truth that you are good enough and you do deserve respect. So here's the deal. As a teenager, most are not going to know what their purpose is. That's totally okay. Part of the process of growing up is finding out what your purpose is going to be. So you can actually pursue multiple paths and gain experience in many areas to narrow down or add to your life of purpose. And there could be a whole bunch of stuff that you do. That's awesome. The practice of living purposefully is having a life that you are pursuing what you're passionate about. If you take healthy, educated risks, maybe looking into colleges or careers or hobbies that you like to do or developing relationships or things like that, you can absolutely continue towards your purposes and your passions. Now, finding what you're passionate about takes a lot of time and effort. You can try pursuing what you're gifted in, things that are interesting, or whatever's part of your community. That's totally up to you. But please remember, achievements do not prove our worth, but the pursuit of our goals is the way to develop our belief of self-worth. This is so important. Remember, it's not about the achievements. It's about the pursuit of our goals. So let's take the old autopilot cycle and the unstable belief cycle and help them out with some new practices. Remember, we need more than positive self-talk. We need to build a life based on healthy, positive practices. The 6 pillars of self-esteem create a way of practical living that truly can transform one's self-esteem. Through living consciously, self-acceptance, self-responsibility, self-integrity, self-assertiveness, and living purposefully, your confidence will have a firm foundation that will build towards your best future. All of which are building up the whole you.